I've just come down to a beach, to a local location, yes, to take a photograph down at the beach. And I really want to talk to you about a few different things I've been thinking about over the last couple of days, and that's about how I can improve my landscape photography. And I think actually looking at some of these things might even help you as well. Now, this isn't a tips video. I could reel off tips about exposure, autofocus, bracketing, stacking, exposure compensation, all these types of different things. But I don't really think that these things are necessarily going to help your photography that much. Yes, sure enough, my channel is on about passing on my knowledge, my passion, and also my skills. So knowledge and skills are really important, but passion is the thing that's going to drive your photography forward. So what is it what I want to talk about? Well, I've come down to the coast, and there's a very particular reason for that. So I think I found the composition that I actually quite like. Although now I've put the camera down this low, the idea was to have these seaweeds coming in from both the left and the right hand side into a V, and then taking your eye into the image. I'll put some viewfinder video up for you anyway. You can kind of get the idea of what I was looking at, but when I look at it like this, there's too much dominance in front of me, and this landscape on the right hand side coming in is a little bit of a, well, I don't know, a little bit of a distraction I suppose in some ways, but I do want that cliff on the other side. But when I turn it around like this, I think, I don't know, I might take one like this and let you see what you think of it. But I think the problem might be is that now it's too dominant on the left hand side. So down here where we've got all these seaweeds and rocks and everything, it's too dark in comparison to what's over there in the background, and just maybe that's going to leave me with an unbalanced image. We'll take one anyway and just see what it comes out like, I think. So what I'm going to do first, I got to switch it off video view, but I've got to square the camera up first, level the horizon, make sure we're exactly where we need to be. Problem is on the beach the sand is shifting a little bit, so it keeps moving. So that's about level. We tilt the camera forward a bit just to get that seaweed in there, a little bit more round to the left and to the right. I'm not going to have to worry too much shutter speed because you can't see too much of the water, but I do want some movement in it. I'm going to focus there. I'll probably take some at F11 and F16. We'll start at +1 on the exposure. Hand in front. I always put the hand in front of the camera, and that just makes sure that when I do that we get a marker frame, so I know where this set of images has started. So that's that done. Focus again. Next one. I'm going to exposure bracket. Oh, actually, I probably need to drop the ISO. Yeah. Drop the ISO to ISO 100. 1/6 of a second. F11. Focus on the seaweed. 2-second timer. I'm going to need to underexpose this a little bit. So we'll exposure bracket. There's some lovely texture and dark clouds in the background as well, which I think might work quite well. I wasn't sure when taking this photograph. I felt the balance would be way off and the dark seaweed foreground would overpower the scene. But this is not the case, and I'm very happy with the final photograph. Okay, so that's those done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the camera up higher so that looking down on the beach, maybe it'll give less dominance to this and more influence to the background, and see if we can draw that in a bit more. Maybe I can zoom in a bit more and make the background look a little bit more important, imposing, and reduce the influence of the foreground. We'll just have to see. Well, it's really, really windy and rough. I'm hoping that you can actually... Oh, camera's even moving in the wind. It's really rough down here, and I'm really hoping that you can hear me above all of this wind and everything at the moment that we've got. I've actually set up for a slightly different composition than I had before. Not only have I brought the camera up, I've moved forward. And the reason for that is I've found a part of the beach where it's sort of, and you can just see it over here, look, where it just actually sweeps away from me in between the foreground interest. And I think that gives you a nice lead into the background that maybe helps with the composition slightly. The cliffs on the left hand side over here are still a little bit small in the frame, and I think I can make more of them, so I might move again. But I wanted to talk to you about this idea about how we can improve our photography, and it's not about tips and everything else as well. In fact, if you want a tip, I'm just going to mention that I've been to this location several times before, so that is a bonus tip in there. But that's one way we can do it. We can go back, we can work locally, and we can go and travel backwards and forwards to the same locations. And as a nature first photographer, I really support the idea of working close to home and not going miles and miles away and jumping on aeroplanes all the time. Anyway, back to today's video. I think one of the ways to actually think about improving our photography is to reflect on what we've done in the past and to go backwards and to think about where we are in time and what the things we have photographed and what we haven't photographed. And there's a good way of doing that. I've been thinking about my previous year, and I've been trying to work out where I've been and what I've photographed. I know I've done a lot of moorland photography in the past with my Dartmoor 20 workshops and my Dartmoor 20 projects and books, and that's worked out really well for me, and it's time to maybe branch out into new things. So how does that improve my photography? Well, let me show you this video, because I want to move, because the weather's really sort of coming in really quickly, I think. So I'm going to move, take another photograph, talk you through that one. And actually that's a good way really of introducing you to what I've been doing and how I've been looking at my new photography ideas and what I'm going to put together for this year. Bear with, I just need to move the camera because it's starting to sink in the sand a little bit.
Moving closer worked. The cliffs have more dominance. The strip of sand draws your eye through the rocky foreground. The clouds have parted slightly, and the extra warmth and light on the cliff brought out the colours. However, is the photograph a little heavy on the left hand side?
I've had to turn you around again because the wind's so strong. I'm just sure you can't hear me. Anyway, I've actually just been moved the camera a little bit further than I thought I was going to, and taken a few different compositions. Depending on how it comes out when I actually get back to editing, I might put them all up on the screen for you. But I've moved in much closer, zoomed in a bit, lifted the camera, and got that background looking much bigger and much stronger. So the reason I came to the beach today, well, one of the things which became apparent when thinking about my photography is not so much about the skills that I need to improve, or not so much about whether I need to improve how I focus, how I compose, how I look at my technical skills. What I really need to think about was the subjects that I was taking and where I was going and how I was stretching myself. I hinted at it earlier, but it became apparent when I started doing something much earlier. And that is, I started looking through my portfolio. Now I'm going to put my portfolio up on the screen for you now when I was looking at it earlier on my iPad in the van, so you can have a quick look at what I was looking at. So basically, what I noticed when I was scanning through it was the fact that really it was missing some elements to it. There's a lot of moorland, there's a lot of woodland, trees, autumn colours, but there wasn't a huge amount of stuff there from the coast. I've started to do it a little bit last year because it was something that I wanted to explore more. But I thought that actually one way that I could share with you guys on how I'm improving my portfolio this year, and reality, my photography as well, was to share this idea with you. And that is that to look at how you're going to move forward, you need to look backwards first of all. So I'd sort of ask you today really, because this is right at the beginning of the year, if you haven't done so yet, have a look at your portfolio for 2025. If you've got a website, refresh it, empty all your images out. I do this once a year. Empty every single image out that you've got and put up a brand new portfolio for 2025, 2026, or whenever it is that you're looking at this video. Because by doing that, you'll be able to see instantly where the gaps are and where you want to improve. And that might not lead you necessarily to improving your skills, but it will point you in the right direction of the type of photography that you're lacking. And also, don't be afraid to sort of decide on what images you like and what you want to do more of. Now I've seen another image down here which I'm going to try and take.
I changed positions, moved slightly forward and waited for the cloud to move across to restore the balance. But on reflection, looking back at the first photograph, it's this one that may find its way into next year's portfolio. I like the layers and the lines created by the seaweed and cliffs separated by the sea and sand. The diagonals all point out towards the horizon. So how are you going to improve your photography this year? I hope you subscribe, join me on my journey and share yours along the way. Until the next time, get out, enjoy your photography.